You must have heard this. Nothing happens in India unless you grease some palms. It's true for Indians, but it's also true for American companies investing in India. Even they cannot escape it. This is our cover story tonight. 4 American companies are facing the heat in the United States over charges of corruption. As many as 12 companies have been pulled up by American investigators since 2016, in the last 3 years alone. Our focus today is on 4 specific cases. The first case we have is of Uber. They are planning to go public. In their initial public offering prospectus, IPO prospectus, the company made a disclosure. Uber revealed that they are under investigation by the US Department of Justice. They are accused of making improper payments in India. The second is Cognizant, another prominent name on this list. The company is accused of bribing a senior government official of Tamil Nadu. The US Security and Exchange Commission, SEC, that is the American markets regulator, was leading this investigation. Their complaint was this: the president of Cognizant authorized their local contractor in India to pay the bribe. The case was closed after Cognizant paid a fine of $28 million. Last year, Stryker Corp was pulled up too. Stryker makes medical devices. This company was not maintaining complete and accurate records of its financial transactions. There were improper payments that the company failed to track. They were asked to pay a penalty of $7.8 million. American healthcare company Alere was punished for bribing Indian officials. Alere makes medical diagnostic testing equipment. They hiked their commissions to one local distributor so the distributor could pay bribes to local government officials. The company's sales went up by 400% in India. But the law caught up. Ultimately, the company had to pay a fine of $13 million. And these are just 4 examples. There are more than a dozen in the last 3 years alone, and there may be many more. This is neither shocking nor a secret. Foreign companies have bribed Indian officials forever. But their corrupt business practices go undetected in India. In other countries, the rules are different, and the rules are often complied with. The punishment is stringent, and the punishment is handed out. For instance, American regulators keep their companies under strict watch. At the risk of generalizing, I have to ask this question: how is it that the American watchdogs detect what their Indian counterparts don't? It flows from the very top. India is still trying to keep up with some global standards for conducting business. International standards on corruption are yet to be implemented in India. One report last year claimed that there is little or no enforcement mechanism to check foreign bribery in India. In fact, India doesn't have specific laws to tackle foreign bribery. India needs to first criminalize foreign bribery. A law to protect whistleblowers in the private sector is also the need of the hour. Now, the BJP government under Mr. Modi has taken a few steps to remedy this. In July last year, a new Anti-Graft Bill was passed. This new law introduced punishment for those who pay a bribe, but there's a long way to go. What is the problem, you may ask? India is far behind when it comes to international standards of tackling foreign bribery. India doesn't comply with anti-bribery conventions created by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD. Now, OECD classifies foreign bribery enforcement in 3 categories. First is active enforcement. Only 7 countries actively comply with this anti-bribery convention. This includes America, Germany, the UK and Switzerland. The next category is limited enforcement. There are just 4 countries here: Australia, Brazil, Sweden and Portugal. India is categorized in the little or no enforcement category, meaning that anti-bribery convention is almost never enforced in India. This means that India does not do a better job to check needs to do rather a better job to check foreign bribery. China, Hong Kong and Singapore also fall in this category. So corruption and bribery must be fought. But what about lobbying? Is it legalized bribery? Is lobbying legalized bribery is the question we are asking. Critics say that companies use lobbying to influence political opinion. Are they essentially bribing policymakers? Lobbying, we can tell you, is a broader term. Companies use lobbyists to influence politicians. In developed economies, businessmen use their campaign contributions to buy access and influence. This money is tracked. Politicians are required to make these disclosures. Take the case of America. Here, lobbying by companies is well documented. Election campaigns are required to disclose who gave them money and how much money was given. A lobbyist must disclose who they're paying and who is paying them to lobby. On the other hand, bribery is more under the table. It happens on an individual level. It is kept off the books. It is designed to evade taxes. Take the case of Christian Michel. This arms dealer is accused of bribing Indian bureaucrats, politicians and Indian Air Force officials. Michel was trying to help Augusta Westland, who wanted to sell choppers to India for the use of VVIPs, very, very important persons. According to the Enforcement Directorate of India, kickbacks to Michel were paid through a web of companies located in India and abroad. The system was designed to evade the law, and that is bribery. Now, France's 800-year-old landmark has been scarred by a catastrophic fire. On Monday evening, a major fire engulfed the Notre-Dame Cathedral in Paris, one of the country's most iconic monuments, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The fire has now been completely extinguished, but the damage caused to the structure is immense. The blaze raged on for 9 hours. Flames that first appeared early last evening burst rapidly through the roof of the cathedral. They then engulfed the spire, or the pyramidal top, which collapsed soon after. But the firefighters managed to save the shell of the stone structure and its 2 main bell towers. French President Emmanuel Macron has called it a quote-unquote terrible tragedy. He has vowed that the monument will be rebuilt.
Je vous le dis très solennellement ce soir, cette cathédrale, nous la rebâtirons, tous ensemble. Et c'est sans doute une part du destin français. Et le projet que nous aurons pour les années à venir. Mais je m'y engage. Dès demain, une souscription nationale sera lancée, et bien au-delà de nos frontières. Nous ferons appel aux plus grands talents, et ils sont nombreux, qui viendront y contribuer. Et nous rebâtirons Notre-Dame. Parce que c'est ce que les Français attendent. Parce que c'est ce que notre histoire mérite. Parce que c'est notre destin profond.
Strong emotional words by the president there. As the fire raged on, firefighters battled to rescue religious relics and priceless artwork housed inside. One firefighter was seriously injured while tackling this fire. The cause is still not clear. According to officials, it could be linked to the renovation work that began after cracks appeared in the structure. French police have begun questioning the workers involved in the renovation work. The catastrophe comes at the start of the Holy Week. As Catholics prepare to celebrate Easter this weekend, thousands of Parisians and tourists gathered around the cathedral, observing the flames in silence, while others sang hymns and prayers. The Vatican on Tuesday expressed quote-unquote shock and sadness over this terrible fire, while a United Nations spokeswoman reiterated comments from UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, who expressed his horror.
Already in contact with experts and ready to send an emergency mission to assess the damage, preserve what can be preserved, and plan short and medium-term measures. That's what the Director General of UNESCO said. The assessment.
Meanwhile, a controversy was raging as well. This one was over the failure of artificial intelligence. YouTube's artificial intelligence, or AI algorithms designed to counter fake news, came under the scanner once again. The platform's automated information panels displayed details about the 9/11 New York terror attacks when showing visuals of the fire in Paris. Probably because of visual similarities that the system detected between these two incidents. This is the same mechanism that is supposed to detect fake news and stop the spread of misinformation. So once again, questions being raised over YouTube's fight against fake news. Now that the fire, in fact, has been doused, efforts continue to recover holy relics and artworks from inside the cathedral. The French culture minister has said that these works of art have been salvaged and they will be transferred to the Louvre. It's a museum in Paris. Meanwhile, pledges to contribute have been pouring in from across the world. Billionaires and businesses continue to pledge vast financial sums towards the rebuilding of this monument. French billionaire François-Henri Pinault has pledged to contribute 100 million euros, about $113 million, for the rebuilding of this cathedral. He was followed by another billionaire, Bernard Arnault, who pledged double this amount, 200 million euros, for restoration work. The Paris City Hall has promised to contribute $56 million. In all, 600 million euros have been pledged already. The iconic landmark has stood tall since the 13th century. In fact, the last time the cathedral suffered major damage was during the French Revolution. It survived 2 world wars, largely unscathed. Such an embodiment of the permanence of a nation. It is profoundly shocking for the entire world, especially for the people of France, of course. Now, peace talks between the Taliban and the US government have been on for weeks. The next round will take place this week in Qatar, but this round is creating more buzz than the previous ones. Why is that so? Because for the first time, women will be part of the Taliban delegation. You heard that right. The same Taliban that relegated women to third-class citizenship in Afghanistan, the same Taliban that confined women to shuttlecock burqas, is now having them as part of a delegation for peace talks. Perhaps it's not the same Taliban after all these years. Perhaps it's a reflection of their intent to do more. There have been demands that women be included in the intra-Afghan talks, and for the first time, the Taliban is complying. But for a group notorious for its strictly conservative attitude, the Taliban continues to hedge on women's rights. For the second time in 3 months, Afghan women will take part in the peace talks. If it was Moscow in February, the venue this week will be Doha. The 3-day talks, beginning in Doha from Friday, will be between the Taliban and a delegation comprising prominent Afghans, including opposition politicians and civil society activists. It follows similar talks between the two sides in Moscow in February. At Moscow, the Afghan delegation included 2 women. The Reuters news agency reported that the Taliban delegation in Doha will also include women, but Taliban spokesperson Zabiullah Mujahid tweeted clarifying that his conversation with Reuters news agency was quote-unquote misconstrued. He tweeted, and I quote, "I said that women will partake in the upcoming intra-Afghan conference, just like those in Moscow. We said nothing relating to women in negotiation teams, and neither do we believe it is necessary." According to the Taliban spokesperson, these women have no family relationship with senior members of the Taliban. The women would only join the discussions with Afghan civil society and political representatives. They would not be a part of the main negotiations with American officials led by U.S. Special Envoy Zalmay Khalilzad. Khalilzad is a veteran Afghan-born U.S. diplomat. He's working to secure an accord with the Taliban on a U.S. troop pullout from Afghanistan. Measures to prevent al-Qaeda and other extremists from using Afghanistan as a springboard for attacks, and a ceasefire. Afghanistan remains a deeply conservative country, especially in rural areas, but there have been major advances in women's rights since the US-led campaign of 2001 that toppled the Taliban government. The women of Afghanistan fear that if the Taliban returns to power, many of these gains could be erased. The Taliban gained worldwide notoriety when it came to power in the 1990s by forcing women to wear full facial covering and imposing severe restrictions, including banning girls from schools and forbidding women from working outside their homes. But the Taliban has been claiming that it encourages girls' education now and other women's rights within an Islamic Sharia system. A late but welcome first step. To China now, all set for the second Belt and Road Summit later this month. It is sending mixed messages to India. India, remember, has decided to boycott the Belt and Road Summit for the second time in 2 years. And China has this to say. It says those who boycott the summit do it out of jealousy or enmity, and such countries risk global isolation. Take a look.
Narendra Modi and Xi Jinping met for an informal summit at Wuhan in April last year. But the Wuhan spirit does not seem to have narrowed the differences between India and China on key issues such as Beijing's Belt and Road Initiative. Belt and Road is Xi Jinping's signature project. China hosted the Maiden Belt and Road Forum in 2017. It'll host the second edition of the forum next week. And India will be conspicuous by its absence, just as it was in 2017. India and Bhutan will be among a handful of countries to skip Xi Jinping's mega event. The Chinese president mooted the Belt and Road Initiative in 2013. It aims to expand China's influence worldwide through a chain of infrastructure projects funded by Chinese investments. Belt and Road is an ambitious project to improve regional cooperation and connectivity on a transcontinental scale. It aims to strengthen infrastructure, trade and investment links. It consists primarily of the Silk Road economic belt, linking China to Central and South Asia and onward to Europe. The BRI also comprises of the new Maritime Silk Road, linking China to the nations of Southeast Asia, the Gulf countries, North Africa and on to Europe. The Belt and Road Initiative has been enshrined in the Constitution of the Communist Party since 2017. A Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson claims that the BRI does not involve territorial and maritime disputes, but India objects to it on several counts. First, sovereignty. The $60 billion China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, an offshoot of the BRI, passes through Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, which is an integral part of the northern Indian state of Jammu and Kashmir. The CPEC links Kashgar in China's Xinjiang province to the port of Gwadar in Pakistan. Second, it is bad economics. India fears that countries that sign on to the BRI would fall into the Chinese debt trap. China will dole out billions of dollars as loan to countries which they will not be able to pay back. Indian concerns rose after China took over Sri Lanka's Hambantota port on a 99-year lease as debt swap. Beijing is also now investing in Sri Lanka's fastest railway line. Several other countries, including Malaysia and even a reluctant Pakistan, which sees Beijing as its all-weather friend, have toyed with the idea of cutting down Chinese projects over debt concerns. And the third objection, Belt and Road has a strategic dimension. There is more to the BRI than its seemingly innocuous infrastructure projects. India's ambassador to China, Vikram Misri, amplified the Indian point of view in an interview to the state-run Global Times newspaper of China. He said, and I quote, "Connectivity initiatives must be pursued in a manner that respects sovereignty, equality and territorial integrity of nations. No country can participate in an initiative that ignores its core concerns on sovereignty and territorial integrity." Seen together with China's reluctance to ban Pakistan-based terrorist Masood Azhar, its opposition to India's membership of the Nuclear Suppliers Group, and the decades-old border dispute, India says that China's Belt and Road Initiative reflects the lack of appreciation of India's concerns on the issue of sovereignty and territorial integrity. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
Amid deepening crisis, the Jet Airways board met in Mumbai today. They have written a letter to SBI. They want an immediate fund of 400 crore rupees. The airline needs this money to sustain operations for a few days. In an appeal to the bank, the chief executive has said that without immediate funds, the future of thousands of workers will be at stake. Now, while the Jet Airways board waits for a reply from the bank, sources say the situation is dire. If the State Bank of India does not respond to this request in a day or two, Jet may temporarily shut all its operations. 90% of Jet's fleet has already been grounded. The airline has been operating just 7 aircraft out of a fleet of 119. It suspended its international operations from the 13th of April. In the domestic market, Jet is operating less than 50 flights a day. You have to listen to this. Tickets from Mumbai to Delhi were being sold online for fares as high as 32,000 rupees one way. Mumbai to Delhi. Similar airfares were seen on websites for an entire week. Sources in Jet Airways say that 23 pilots have left the company. Now, the total pilot strength is believed to be around 1,200. Remember, Jet employees have not been paid their salaries for the last 3 months. Other banks, which had earlier promised 1,500 crore rupees in emergency funding, are reluctant to give money now. Given the high debt of the airline, Jet has debts of more than 8,000 crore rupees. The company's share price nearly tumbled 19% in today's trade. So what's next for Jet Airways? Lenders of Jet are trying to bring in a new investor for a 75% stake. Reports show that as many as 5 parties have expressed interest. Lenders have also attempted to calm investors. State-owned Punjab National Bank has said that lenders are finalizing an emergency funding. If this company goes under the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, it will take time. Funding may not come immediately. The bidding will take time as well. Though Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code has a strict time frame, the experience of resolution so far paints a rather grim picture. And now time to get you up to speed with all the election news. This is India Election Watch. Still early days in this election, but it's crunch time for the candidates in the southern and eastern parts of the country. Campaigning ended today. Let's bring our rally roster. Campaigning for the second phase was over, but in other parts of the country, the rallies continued. Prime Minister Modi is back on the campaign trail. He was in Chhattisgarh and Odisha. 32 seats up for grabs from these two states. Amit Shah, BJP president, not very far away. He was in Karnataka and Kerala. These states sent 48 candidates to the Lok Sabha in all. Rahul Gandhi was also in Kerala. The Congress believes it has a fighting chance here. Kerala is represented by 20 MPs in the Lok Sabha. So phase 2 of voting kicks off in 2 days from now. 97 constituencies in the fray across 13 states. The candidates have made their one final push, but the focus remains on southern and eastern India. No one wants to miss out. The BJP wants to make gains here. The Congress feels it has an edge over the Saffron Party, and regional parties believe that they hold sway. The competition is intense. Leaders from all major political parties are crisscrossing these parts of the country, southern and eastern India. Let's start with Rahul Gandhi's campaign. He was in Kerala. He did 4 rallies there. The Congress has been able to generate some buzz in that state. The Congress president, in addition to Amethi, is contesting from Wayanad in Kerala. But irrespective of the state he goes to, Rahul Gandhi's campaign pitch remains the same. He continues to attack Prime Minister Narendra Modi over Rafale and demonetization. He blames the RSS for dividing India.
I normally fight the election from Amethi in North India. But this time I chose to give a message to South India by fighting from Kerala. Because I wanted to give a message that India is not just one perspective. India is just not one idea. India is millions and millions of different viewpoints, different perspectives, and all of those are important to us. Because currently our country is under attack by the BJP and the RSS.
Rahul Gandhi's aggression is causing him legal trouble. First, he got a notice from the Supreme Court. Now he faces potential defamation suit in Patna. The Bihar Deputy Chief Minister, Mr. Sushil Kumar Modi, could file a case in a couple of days.
मैंने तय किया कि मैं राहुल गांधी पर मानहानि का मुकदमा दायर करूंगा। मेरे वकील उसकी तैयारी करें और अगले 1-2 दिनों के अंदर राहुल गांधी पर मानहानि का मुकदमा दर्ज किया जाएगा। तो एक और तो कहते हैं कि सारे चौकीदार चोर हैं, तो बिहार में तो पासवान समाज के लोग चौकीदारी करते हैं, यानी सारे पासवान चोर हैं। फिर कह रहे हैं कि सारे मोदी चोर हैं, तो क्या मोदी टाइटल रखना गुनाह है क्या? और मोदी सरनेम वैसे समाज के लोग, व्यापार करने वाले लोग बहुत बड़ी संख्या में और अपना टाइटल मोदी रखते हैं। तो राहुल गांधी जिस भाषा का प्रयोग कर रहे हैं, तो उन्होंने केवल देश के चौकीदारों को चोर नहीं कहा, बल्कि मोदी टाइटल रखने वाले इस देश के अंदर करोड़ों लोग जो हैं उनको भी उन्होंने चोर कहा है।
This seems to be the BJP's new strategy. Contest Rahul Gandhi's claims over Rafale with lawsuits. The BJP has already filed a case of contempt against the Congress president in the Supreme Court. On Monday, the apex court asked Rahul Gandhi to explain himself. This is also playing out on the campaign trail. The Prime Minister today attacked Mr. Gandhi over his choice of words. He said that the Congress president has insulted a section of the society with his speeches. The Chaukidar versus Chor debate continues.
ये नामदार ऐसा लग रहा है गालियां देने की, बद्दे से बद्दी बात करने की फैशन हो गई है। उन्होंने अभी एक आरोप लगाया, सारे मोदी चोर क्यों हैं? अब यहां जो साहू समाज है, अगर वो गुजरात में हो तो उनको लोग मोदी कहते। क्या सबके सब चोर है क्या? क्या इनको शोभा देता है क्या? ये भाषा बोली जाती है क्या?
Meanwhile, there's a new twist in the battle for Uttar Pradesh. Shatrughan Sinha's wife Poonam Sinha joined the Samajwadi Party today and she will contest from Lucknow. She will challenge Home Minister Rajnath Singh. The announcement came just after the Union Minister filed his nominations. In fact, Poonam Sinha's husband, Shatrughan Sinha, had an unceremonious exit from the BJP recently. He joined the Congress party and now it seems like his wife too wants to take on the BJP in its bastion of Lucknow. Atal Bihari Vajpayee held the Lucknow seat from 1991 to 2009. After that, Rajnath Singh has represented Lucknow in parliament. But with the Samajwadi Party joining hands with the BSP in this election, there might be a contest, though most people are still betting their money on Rajnath Singh. The Election Commission has woken up now. That was the reaction of the Supreme Court after the poll watchdog banned 4 politicians from campaigning. Until yesterday, the poll watchdog described itself as toothless. They said they had no powers. But after the Chief Justice of India pulled them up, the Election Commission, quote-unquote, found its powers today. That's not me. That is what the Commission told the Chief Justice in court. The Election Commission may have woken up, but it remains slow while acting on violations of the Model Code. Polarizing speeches continue. Sample these latest cases. Congress leader Navjot Singh Sidhu made a communal appeal to Muslim voters. He warned them against voting for regional parties. Listen to what he said.
मैं आपको चेतावनी देने आया हूं, बहनों भाइयों, ये बांट रहे हैं आपको। मुस्लिम भाइयों, ये यहां पे ओवैसी साहब जैसे लोगों को लाके एक नई पार्टी साथ में खड़ी करके आप लोगों की वोटें बांट के ये जीतना चाहते हैं। अगर तुम लोग इकट्ठे हुए, 64% आपकी आबादी है, माइनॉरिटी मेजॉरिटी में है यहाँ पे, यदि तुम इकट्ठे हुए और इकट्ठे होके एकजुट होके वोट डाला तो सब उलट जाएंगे, मोदी सुलट जाएगा, छक्का लग जाएगा।
He's not alone. Azam Khan's son, Abdullah, has given a religious twist to the case against his father. He has claimed that the Election Commission punished his father because he was a Muslim.
आपने बैन कर दिया सिर्फ इसलिए क्योंकि आजम खान मुसलमान थे, क्योंकि आजम खान को भारतीय जनता पार्टी को खुश करने के लिए आजम खान को बैन करना बहुत ज़रूरी था, क्योंकि योगी आदित्यनाथ साहब को बैन किया था इसलिए ताकि ऐसा न लगे कि भारतीय जनता पार्टी के खिलाफ कोई कार्रवाई कर दी और भारतीय जनता पार्टी के आला नेता नाराज ना हो जाएं, इसलिए आजम खान को भी बैन कर दिया।
You do remember what Azam Khan said. Last night, he was banned from campaigning for 72 hours after he made a sexist comment against BJP leader Jaya Prada. But it seems like Azam Khan's son has no fear of the Election Commission either. So is this Election Commission truly helpless? Going by their own admission in the Supreme Court, the poll watchdog does have many powers. The precedent is as recent as 2014. In the last general election, Azam Khan and Amit Shah were banned from campaigning altogether. The ban on Amit Shah was lifted after he wrote to the Election Commission and he promised to respect the Model Code of Conduct. In times of social media where information spreads almost instantaneously, India needs a vigilant, active Election Commission. It's something that is also the demand of India's Supreme Court now. Now, in less than 48 hours from now, phase 2 of the Lok Sabha election will begin. As we said, 97 constituencies in 13 states and union territories will vote. What are the key battles, you may ask? Let's start with Tamil Nadu. The battle for Shivaganga will be worth watching here. Karti Chidambaram from the Congress versus H. Raja from the BJP. Let me tell you about both these leaders. Karti Chidambaram faces serious corruption charges. Shivaganga was his father's seat, former Union Minister P. Chidambaram. In 2014, Karti Chidambaram contested and he lost. Jayalalitha's AIADMK bagged the seat. But the constituency has been a Congress bastion traditionally, one of the very few in Tamil Nadu. Now the NDA has its eye on Shivaganga. They fielded H. Raja of the BJP. He is known for making polarizing statements and personal attacks on opponents. He's been controversial. He faces many court cases. He often brands his opponents as anti-Indian. If he defeats Karti Chidambaram, it will send out a huge message, a death knell perhaps for the Congress in this state. Karti is counting on anti-incumbency against the BJP and the AIADMK to sail through. Number 2 on our list is the contest in Dharmapuri, also in Tamil Nadu, one of the few seats where the NDA has a shot at victory. Anbumani Ramadas versus Senthil Kumar. Ramadas is a former union minister and a PMK leader. He's an ally of the BJP. He has an edge. This region is dominated by the Vanniyar community, which Ramadas belongs to. Plus, he's won the constituency twice in the last 15 years. Even when Jayalalitha swept the 2014 election, her party could not win this seat, Dharmapuri, one of the two seats where the AIDMK lost the last time. Ramados faces the DMK's Senthil Kumar, and there's a third player in this battle, a BSP candidate. Sivanandam, BSP Mayawati's party, he may split the anti-NDA vote. Communal violence between Manyars and Dalits is common in this region. The BSP is expected to get a big chunk of votes from the SC/ST community, and that will help Anbumani Ramados. At least that is the calculation. Third on our list is Tumkur. This is in Karnataka. HD Devagowda versus GS Basavaraj. Devagowda is a former Prime Minister. He is the JDS chief. His traditional seat has been Hassan. But this time, he has given Hassan to his grandson Prajwal Revanna. And then he made a last-minute announcement. He said, Devagowda, saying that he will contest from Tumkur. But winning this one is going to be difficult, even for a former Prime Minister. The Congress had won the seat in 2014, and the sitting MP was not happy that his seat was given to Devagowda. He even threatened to file his nomination independently. There are several other rebel candidates against Mr. Devagowda, and his opponent is the BJP's Basavaraj, the man who lost in 2014, but he lost respectably. Basavaraj polled more than 3.5 lakh votes last time. So HD Devagowda will do well to not take the Tumkur battle lightly. Let's come to number 4 on our list. Aligarh in Uttar Pradesh, a three-cornered contest here. BJP's Satish Kumar Gautam is the sitting MP. In 2014, he got as many votes as the Samajwadi Party, the BSP and the Congress put together. That's how big he won. This time, the Samajwadi Party and the BSP have joined hands, and they have fielded the BSP's Ajit Balyan. Now, Aligarh, remember, is a test of the Kairana model. This seat is heavily polarized. The Congress is making it even more complicated. They have fielded a strong candidate, former Aligarh MP Bijender Singh. So this is going to split the opposition vote. Both the Congress and the Gathbandhan, both these candidates are from the Jat community. So their votes are going to be divided, and that will help the BJP. But their challenge is anti-incumbency, high polarization, poor infrastructure, lack of development. These are key issues in Aligarh. Aligarh could go down to the wire on the 23rd of May. And finally, on today's list, we have Nanded in Maharashtra. It falls in the Marathwada region. Ashok Chavan versus Pratap Rao Chikalikar. The Congress has held the seat since 2009. They are strong in rural Maharashtra. Ashok Chavan is the sitting MP. The constituency is big with nearly 17 lakh voters. The problems on the ground are equally big here in Nanded. This region is economically backward. It is hurt by farm distress, severe shortage of water, high levels of unemployment. Ashok Chavan should start as a favourite, but the BJP's Pratap Rao Chikalikar is expected to give him a run for his money. The BJP's campaign has been strong, and we'll have to wait and see if the campaign delivers. Also in election mode is Indonesia. The world's third largest democracy will vote tomorrow. It will have a single-day, single-phase vote. 192 million Indonesians will vote for 2,45,000 candidates at more than 800,000 polling stations, an exercise analysts call the world's largest single-day election.
A nation made up of 17,000 islands, Indonesia will hold the biggest and most complex one-day elections in the world. The 17th of April will witness millions of Indonesians vote in presidential and parliamentary elections. The vote will be the world's biggest direct presidential election. The voters decide between President Joko Widodo, who is standing for re-election, and ex-General Prabowo Subianto. President Widodo, better known as Jokowi, was a former furniture salesman who launched his political career as a small city mayor. Subianto, on the other hand, is a fiery nationalist and ex-Special Forces military commander. Essentially, this election is a rematch between the two political rivals who had also faced off in the 2014 election. Widodo won the popular vote by a margin of about 6%, getting 71 million more votes than Subianto. Widodo has cultivated an image as an everyman. a pragmatic liberal reformist focused on the economic development of the country.
Dan juga kami ingin terus memperjuangkan kemandirian ekonomi Indonesia. Oleh sebab itu, sumber daya alam strategis yang sebelumnya dikelola oleh asing dikuasai negara, seperti Blok Mahakam, Blok Rokan, dan juga Freeport.
Subianto, on the other hand, is an ideologue with a volatile personality. A man who supports the Islamic hardliners and has kept his focus on undermining the current government's policies.
Bahwa kita telah menyimpang dari cita-cita pendiri.
Our nation now is deviating from the dreams of the nation's founding fathers. According to the state constitution of the Republic of Indonesia of 1945, our economic objectives are clear, and it is not allowed for the nation's wealth to be flown to the foreign countries. The current government is admitting the situation of a state's wealth flowing away to the foreign nations.
Keluar negeri, dan kenyataannya adalah dan diakui oleh pemerintah sekarang.
Most opinion polls give Widodo a double-digit lead, but the opposition has disputed survey findings. The opposition says that they have uncovered data irregularities affecting millions on the electoral rolls. They have vowed to take legal action if the complaints are not resolved. Now, security is also a major concern for the elections. Indonesia has had a string of attacks in the recent years and is taking no chances. Jakarta's police chief has said that up to 38,000 personnel from military and the police will be deployed as he presided over a ceremony to flag off the mission. The elections will be a closely fought battle, and the results eagerly awaited by the people, which is expected to be announced in May. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
How much work is too much work? The question is as old as the hills. Now a new suggestion has been floated, and this suggestion has stirred the hornet's nest. The suggestion has come from Jack Ma, billionaire and founder of Alibaba, and the suggestion is this: employees should work 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. This apparently has become the new normal in Chinese internet, e-commerce and tech companies.
$996. These are not just some random numbers. This is the new work mantra Chinese corporate giants want their workers to follow. Wondering what we are talking about? 996 is a reference to working from 9 in the morning to 9 in the night, 6 days a week. Well, that's what billionaire Jack Ma demands of his staff at Alibaba, the commerce platform he co-founded. Jack Ma's support for the 996 work schedule became the center of a controversial debate in Chinese media and social media. Last week, in a speech to Alibaba employees, Ma defended the 996 work schedule, referring to the 12-hour work schedule as a huge blessing. The billionaire posted comments on the company's internal chat account that read, and I quote, "Many companies and many people don't have the opportunity to work 996. If you don't work 996 when you're young, when can you ever work? I personally think that being able to work 996 is a huge blessing." Unquote. Ma even went on to say that those who were not willing to work for 12 hours should not apply to Alibaba. His remarks obviously did not go down well with the netizens. Jack Ma is arguably China's best-known entrepreneur. The e-commerce tycoon was famously born in a poor family and did not succeed academically. He started Alibaba using cash strapped together from friends. Ma's comments are seen as controversial as stories grow about working conditions for China's labor. China's manufacturing employees have for decades worked long hours in often risky environments. But analysts say the long hours culture has spread to China's office workers also, in part due to the country's rising internet, e-commerce and technology sector. While China's labor law is clear on working hours not exceeding 8 hours a day, tech companies don't seem to be paying much heed to it. Reports of startup workers dying unexpectedly due to overwork and exhaustion have been doing the rounds. This has led to protests against the 996 work culture. In fact, protests against the 996 work culture in China are now called 996.ICU, with reference to a grim joke between workers that 996 will send you straight to the intensive care unit. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
On that note, it's a wrap. Thanks very much for watching.